Israel police will bar non-Muslims from visiting the Temple Mount in the Al-Aqsa mosque compound from Friday until the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan on May 2nd. The plan sparked immediate outcry, of course, from right-wing lawmakers and pundits who blasted the government for caving to terror following days of clashes between Palestinians and Israeli police on the Temple Mount. However, the policy of barring non-Muslims from visiting the Temple Mount during the last roughly 10 days of Ramadan has been in place for years. Last year, former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the site closed to non-Muslims for 19 days during Ramadan. To try and further understand what is happening in Jerusalem and how things could also be resolved, we're joined by Michael Kleiner. He's the president of the Likud Party Supreme Court. Thank you very much for being with us today. Police rejected today a plan of far-right demonstrators to march in Jerusalem, but the demonstrators say that they will continue with their march. Are those kind of provocacies necessary at this time when Ramadan and Easter and Passover are celebrated at the same time, and so violence and so much blood is already being shed?
Some people will say that the existence of the Jewish state in this land of Israel, this is a real provocation that the Palestinians are fighting against. And they are using any means to smear Israel, to achieve condemnation for Israel. Israel must keep its right and the right of Jews to go everywhere in Jerusalem and lift the flag of the State of Israel everywhere in Jerusalem at any time, and it should not be limited.
I couldn't agree more. The question is whether this is the right timing for that, because you're not always smart. You're sometimes you're not always right. You're sometimes smart, right?
So why not to be smart all the time? Because it will never be the right time. You know, it's the people of the Waqf in the Temple Mount believe that even the yard of the Temple Mount is a part of the synagogue, and every Jew going in the yard of the Temple Mount is a provocation, and this provocation is always. So if you give in once, you will always give in. The mistake was done many years ago when there was no presence on the Temple Mount, because if there, for example, would have been a small synagogue on the Temple Mount and Jews will come to pray, nobody could say it's a provocation if on Passover Jews come to synagogue. If there is nothing Jewish on the Temple Mount and you gave it to the Waqf and people come and go on Ramadan there, so understand that people say it's a provocation.
But there hasn't been.
It irritates the Arabs who pray. They don't want to see Jews, not in the mosque and not near the mosque and not in Jerusalem and not in the land of Israel.
But Michael
so the
Kleiner,
question, where do you put the line?
I understand. But first of all, Jews are permitted to visit Temple Mount throughout the year, as well as other non-Muslims.
They are permitted to come if they don't come. They are permitted to come, but please don't come.
No, there are. There are certain hours every day from 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning that they can visit.
So this is what happened the day before yesterday. They took only 2 hours. They said on those 2 hours they will bring Jews. There was a group of some tens of Jews going and walking in the yard, very far from the mosque. There was no provocation. All the Arab television and media said it's iktiham. Iktiham is a break-in. It's like a break-in. You know, a Jew is going on the yard of the Temple Mount, it's break-in. And the Arab world listened that it's a break-in to the Temple Mount, and then they use it. So
when I speak to Palestinians, they say that what sprouted the violence is the news on Jews planning to mount and ascend the Temple Mount together with some animal sacrifice to repeat what was done in biblical times, etc. They say that this was the news, and I know it was also repeated by some certain preachers inside the mosques. So they say that this is what led to the escalation, not the fact that Jews come there, because they come there, as you say, all year round. The question is, what can Israel do when there are such publications? Because I assume you don't think animal sacrifice should be made on Temple Mount these days.
And they also don't believe that Jews should drink blood of Christian children for Passover, because this story reminds this hallucinated news that nobody confirmed, and it's not serious, and it's reminding. It must remind the stories in every Passover in Europe that Jews are taking Christian children to take the blood and drink it on Passover. So this anti-Semitism, pure anti-Semitism. The question: should we give in?
We have really 30 seconds left. I do want to ask you if you think we are to expect an escalation like we saw in May and last Jerusalem Day during the flag march that ended with missiles being fired at Jerusalem.
No, I believe, saying what I said before, I believe we should be smart. I believe we should not allow the provocations to succeed. The government didn't handle it correctly. It should prevent this event. It could do. It didn't. You know, going into the mosque itself, even if there are some stones, was a mistake because we supplied pictures to our enemies to show in the world and harm Israel.